Good night, everybody, and welcome to welcome back to A Road to Financial Freedom. Excuse me one second, with Pastor Curt and Pastor Nedra Buckmeyer, Spirit and Truth International Worship Center. We pray that you are having a blessed evening right where you are. We'll just wait for some folks. We see folks logging into the chat, so go ahead and text a friend, let them know that Pastor Curt is back on the air discussing the road to financial freedom. It is the fourth Tuesday in the month of September, and we're almost, believe it or not, we're almost through the year 2024. And we pray that we've been getting positive feedback from individuals about how the podcast, the information has been a blessing to them. So we pray that the information that's being shared has been a blessing to you, and we pray that your finances has been improving to the point whereby at the end of the journey, where you will find yourself on the road to financial freedom. Tonight, we're going to talk about investing and saving for retirement. So one of the things and one of the challenges we have, especially as individuals either starting out into the workplace, or if you are a young family, you're in your starter home, you're just starting to have children, we tend to focus on, if you're just getting a job, you're trying to get yourself established, or if you're a young family, you're trying to, buy that first house, you have young kids, you're getting them into activities, and your finances tend to be geared towards other things than thinking about retirement, simply because in your mind, you have a lot of time. One of the things I would encourage you to understand in order to retire in a position where you've lived your life, you've created a life for yourself, you have a level of expectancy, and in order to retire at that same level, one of what you have to realize is finances, wealth is built over consistent saving over a long period of time, or investing over a long period of time. So if you're able to start when you're in your 20s or your 30s, by the time you're in your 50s and 60s, by the grace of God, if you're able to live that long, you would have a significant amount of resources, significant amount of finances available to you simply because of your consistent giving over a long period of time. And even if you're closer to retirement, like myself, you're in your 50s and your 60s, one of the things you want to begin to do is share with your children or your grandchildren the importance of saving for retirement, saving over a long period of time. So getting them in the habit of saving. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to begin to share our presentation for tonight. So I'm going to share my screen so we can see what we're going to be discussing on tonight. So would you say I'm going to ask Pastor Nedry, there she goes, to put that up. So we're in September, the 9th month, and what we're talking about is we're going to talk about some basic investing principles, basic investing strategies, and saving for your retirement. Okay, whether it's 401ks, whether it's IRAs, traditional or Roth. One of the things you have to begin to do is you're going to have to begin, how are you going to supplement your income in retirement? I've been fortunate enough to have instructed individuals and I've seen them put the teachings that I've given and put it in place, and they were able to retire without any issues. I've also seen individuals who, went into retirement and quickly found out that they could not live off of Social Security and had to come out of retirement and go back to work. So you want to be prepared. You want to prepare yourself because you don't want to be the latter. You don't want to have to go into retirement. And as we see in the current economy that we're living in, when the prices pretty much have increased by anywhere from 25 to 50%, the finances, the monies that you have are quickly running out, and you cannot afford to maintain the lifestyle that you've had. So people have to go back to work, and that's not something you want to find yourself. That's not a position you want to find yourself in. What you want to do is you want to adequately prepare for your retirement, and in order to do so, you want to start doing it as soon as possible, and take advantage of opportunities that are available to you via your employment. If you're employed and your company offers a 401k with matching, all right, a lot of times people think they can't afford, or they don't even know what the 401k is. Unless a lot of times your company don't break down and explain it to you exactly what it is, or they don't. Some companies really encourage you to take advantage of it. Other companies do not. And also to do it to the max that you're able to do in terms of how much the company matches. So that's what we want to discuss tonight. We want to get in the mindset. And this is important. This is important no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are. If you're close to retirement, then you should be communicating this to your children. You should be communicating this to your grandchildren. Okay? The Bible says, train up a child in the way that they should go, so when they're old, they shall not depart. These are principles. These are financial instruction that you want to give your children and your grandchildren. You want them to understand, okay? Wealth is available to each and every one of us in the United States of America, but there are certain things you have to do, okay? And I heard, I can't remember the quote exactly, but I heard this white man was teaching to these two African American men, and he was talking about how the fact that poor people spend all their money trying to present themselves as being rich, and rich people do just the opposite. They save a significant amount of their money, and they walk around like they're poor. And if you ever really get them an opportunity to communicate or hang around or deal with people with means, you realize there are different types of money, but the ones who a lot of times wealthy people are very frugal. I won't say they're cheap, but they're very frugal. Okay, they don't splurge their money. They don't spend all their money because they know how important and how significant money is, because it took them a long time to earn it. So what they try to do is they get to the point where they want that money to make more money for them. And it's only poor people who, as soon as they get money, they look to spend it, right? They look to, buy name brand. So they're wearing a Nike, they're wearing a Gucci, they're wearing a Louis, they're wearing brand names, right? Instead of looking to build their own brand. And a lot of times what you'll find is wealthy people, they're not really wearing, you may think like Kim Kardashian years ago lost $1 million worth of jewelry. You really think after she lost $1 million worth of jewelry, she went out and bought another $1 million worth of jewelry? No, a lot of these celebrities, what they'll do is for an event, they'll either go out and rent, right? So that they may buy it and then wear it and then return it, okay? Or they're wearing very good, real-looking cosmetic jewelry, okay? So a lot of times, we're looking at these people, and because they have money, we think they're spending their money on luxury brands, and that's where you want to get to. You want to get to the place where people know you have money, so when you show up, they automatically think that necklace is real. That necklace may cost you $50, but they think it's a $500 or $5,000 necklace, right? Simply because you have the money. Wealthy people do not squander their money. What they do is they try to get their money to make more money for them. And that's where I want you to be. I want you to get to the place where you understand it's important and significant for you to have your money make more money for you. So we continue on. Let's start with this. Okay. Want to talk about, just basic steps for investing. Okay. Because many times individuals are fearful of investing. And again, the information I try to present to you, I try to get it whereby you're able to follow up if you choose to. So the information I'm going to present to you today came off of the Clark Howard website. So if you want to follow up in depth and in detail, you can go to clarkhoward.com, look under the investing tab in the investing section, and the information will be there. But what we want to talk about is investing, right? So how do you get about investing? So I wanted to be simplified for you, because many times individuals, I don't know anything, Pastor Curt, I don't know anything about investing, and I'm fearful of it. You don't have to be fearful of it. All you have to do is begin to enlighten yourself. You live in the information age, so you can go to YouTube, you can go and enter investing, 101, or learn how to invest. There are plenty of videos that will be presented to you. If you go to any one of the investment websites, like a Charles Schwab or a Vanguard or Fidelity, any one of these, if you open an account, I know if you open an account with them, they have tutorials as well. Okay, they will teach you, they will break it down for you, what are stocks, what are mutual funds, what are investment funds. There are videos that are available to you that instead of you watching TikTok videos or Instagram videos or YouTube videos, right, you can take that same amount of time and begin to invest in yourself and begin to invest in your own education. Okay, so to simply, right, how do you begin to start investing? First of all, you're going to have money to invest, right? It does not take a lot, right? Just like if you were saving, you can do the very same thing if you were investing. You can consistently, save $100 a check or save $50 a check and get it directly deposited into your investment account and begin to build up your finances there, right, to the point where you're able to buy a multitude of stocks. You can buy one stock, or even some of these companies allow you to buy what they call a fraction of a stock, right? So stock is just part ownership of a company. Take your companies that you normally use. If you use Amazon, if you use Target, if you use Walmart, right? You tend to buy ownership into companies that you are currently utilizing, because whenever you use that company, you're also affecting your own bottom line. But the first thing you have to do is you have to free up some money. And how do you free up money, right? We learn to live on less money than we make. That's the first thing. No matter what we do, we have to learn to live on less money than we make, right? So we talked about, and we already advanced, and some of the things that will come up, that we have saved $500 or $1,000 emergency fund. We have an emergency fund saved, right? We're working on paying off all our debts, right? We may have already 3 to 6 months worth of our expenses saved, right? These are principles that you have to have. If you're spending 110% of your earnings, right, you're negative. Then the reason being, why do we stress paying off a debt? Because whether you recognize it or not, paying off your debt might be your best investment strategy. Because if you're investing and you're making 8% return on your investment, but you have a credit card and you're paying 19.99 to 29.99% interest, you see, you're negative. You're only earning 10% on the dollar, but you're losing 19 or up to 30%. So the first thing you have to do is to stop losing money on interest. That's why we stress getting out of debt, because once you get out of debt, you're able to now, the money that you were losing in interest, you're now able to recoup, right? So we're talking about those people who are in the process of doing that, and now you're in a position to looking to invest money, right? So first thing is very simple. I know it's simple, simplistic. Spend less than you make. You got to be a saver, right? You got to have money saved before you can invest. So we talked about the emergency fund. We talked about the having the expenses saved. Why? So why do you want to be a saver before you're an investor? Simply because whether you recognize it or not, from an interest standpoint, you will be losing, right? You're losing money instead of gaining money. I see some of your questions, Minister Dawn. What is the minimum amount I can use to invest? Okay. The minimum amount is $1. We'll talk about this when we talk more about investing. Again, there are things called penny stocks. There are stocks that are less than $1. Right. At one time, Apple was a penny stock. At one time, Dell was a penny stock. At one time, Amazon was a penny stock. They were only worth like $1. Okay. And again, there are companies out there that are what we call startups. And when a company starts up, like right now, I have stock in a hydrogen company called HNOI. Right. I bought the stock they were offering it at 15 cents. Right, he was a startup. He was an African American. It's privately owned. I got it through someone told me about it. Apostle Lewis told me about it, and I was able to buy the stock at 15 cents. Right, it's privately owned. They're in the process of trying to build the company to go public. Okay, so I got in on the ground floor, and there are opportunities like that. There are websites out there that allow you, when companies are doing crowdfunding, allow you to buy the stock on pennies, right? So these take longer, right? They take longer because, again, if I'm buying the stock in pennies right now, the company just signed a contract, their first major contract, right? So they're building the company. Right, but I was able to get in on the ground floor, right? It's the alternative fuel company, right? So the answer to your question, to keep it simple, is depending on what you're investing in, you could $10, $15, $20, $30. You're not able to buy thousands of shares. You're able to buy hundreds of shares if you're doing it pennies on the dollar, right? But you're able to invest. Okay, because again, we're talking about long term. The opportunity and what was presented, right, is, hey, we're a company that eventually are going to be $1 billion company, but I'm giving you the opportunity to get in on the ground floor. And I took that opportunity, right? I took the opportunity in that I saw the potential of maybe 5, 10, 15 years down the line. This could be an Amazon. This could be an Apple, right? And this is exactly what the model he was talking about, the fact that when he was younger, he had the opportunity to get into one of these companies, and he got into it, but he sold his share when it quadrupled, right? So he went from like $5 a share to $30 a share, and he sold it. But the same stock went to be like $300 a share, so he sold it too soon. You see, so these are opportunities that are available to you if you're willing to invest. And again, you have to be patient. If you're getting into companies on the ground floor, we know Apple today, but you have to think back Apple before the first cell phone, right? Remember that there used to be it was not the iPad. I don't even remember what it was before there was an iPhone. But Apple used to be a music company, right? It was a music company before it became a phone company, right? So all I'm saying, to answer your question, it does not take much. What we're talking about is, first, if you're a saver, because all you would do once you're a saver and you're consistently saving, you open up an account with a Schwab, with a Vanguard, with a Fidelity, and now you consistently send money into that account, and now you're saving to invest. Okay? You got to make investing a priority. Again, many of you've sacrificed for your children. You've made investments. You have a home. You have the car. You got your children through school, high school, and subsequently college. You may have supported them. Now, right, especially if you're in your late 30s, mid 40s, you should be focusing on yourself, right? You should be focusing on yourself, and you should be putting away, trying to put away as much as you can and still live comfortably and still enjoy your life. But you have to think about your retirement. right? You have to begin to think about retirement and making retirement your priority. So many a times people who are generous, who have big hearts, do not focus in on themselves, right? You don't really put a lot of emphasis on yourself. But one of the things I realize, I'm in a position to be able to assist and help my brother, and I are in a position to be able to help my mother in her retirement, right? So things pop up, things break, and it blows her budget. So we're able to help out. But the thing about it is, I am not thinking that my kids are going to be able to be in a position to be able to help me if that ever happened, right? So I have to begin to plan and prepare for myself. The economy that it is today is a lot more difficult for our children than our parents, right? So our parents raised us in a better economy that allowed us to be able to acquire the wealth that we have, put us in a position to have a house, to have the cars and things like that. When we're looking at the economy today that our children are growing up in, they're growing up in a more difficult economy. So I would not suggest to you that you rely on your children to be able to assist you in your old age. That may not work out well. Okay, and there are tools. There are things that you can use in your retirement in order to support yourself. So if you build up equity in your home, right? At some point in time, your home might become too big for you, so you might be able to sell it, take the equity, get yourself a smaller house or even an apartment where you don't have to maintain, right? And live off the equity, right? Or you're able to get a reverse mortgage whereby not even leaving the house, right? Instead of you paying your mortgage, now the mortgage company pays you, right? And then subsequently, when you go home to be with the Lord, right, you turn the house over to the kids and let the kids pay off the remaining balance of the mortgage. So or your grandkids. So there are things you can do, right? But having a retirement allows you to do things like travel in retirement, right? Go on vacations, be able to go and see your grandkids, right? We're going to talk about this in depth, right? So I'm going to briefly cover it here. But if you're in a company, you want to enroll in the company's retirement plan, okay? And I said we're going to talk about this in depth on tonight. Retirement, the 401k plan. So I'm just going to touch it briefly here. So I'm going to continue on, right? If your company does not have a retirement plan, a 401k plan, then individual retirement account, IRA, individual retirement accounts, you can set up a Roth IRA, right? You have the traditional IRA, and the difference between the two is the traditional IRA deals with pre-tax dollars, so the money comes off before taxes is taken out, and a Roth IRA is taken with post-tax dollars, so taxes come off first. The difference is when you retire, right? So with a Roth IRA, when you retire, you don't have to pay taxes on the money when you're taking it out. And with a traditional IRA, right, when you retire, the taxes will be taken out. So that's primarily the differences between the two accounts. If you're an entrepreneur, if you work for yourself, okay, you want to set up an IRA for yourself. And again, you can do that with, an investment company, a Charles Schwab, a Vanguard, any one of these investment companies, a Fidelity. You can set up an individual IRA, even if when you do your taxes. So I do my taxes myself. And when the TurboTax does the analysis, it says, if you contribute X amount of dollars to your retirement account, it will lower your taxes by X amount of dollars. Okay. Because again, there are tax implications for saving money. So some years I contributed more than other years to my, I have an individual retirement account simply because I work for myself. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So in order to save on paying taxes, okay, what that does, it lowers your gross amount. By lowering your gross amount, oh, I see you, Tanya Kroon. Welcome. Glad you can share with us on tonight. By lowering your gross amount, you pay less taxes. So retirement, okay, and as you're on the road to financial freedom, and as you begin to acquire wealth, you have to deal with wealth management, right? I've stated to you before, either you manage your money or your money would manage you. And as you acquire wealth, one of the things you have to learn is you have to learn wealth management, okay? So the IRA is part of your wealth management strategy. The thing I pointed out to you in the very beginning, whether you recognize it or not, $1 million will pass through your hands in your lifetime. For some of you, $1 million have already passed through your hands, right? If you're making six figures, if you make $100,000 a year gross, and you did it for 10 years, guess what? Do the math. $1 million has passed through your hands. If you only made $50,000 a year and you did it for 20 years, guess what? $1 million has passed through your hands. The question is, okay, and this is what slaps you in the face, especially for high earning individuals. If you make $150,000, $200,000 a year, well, in 5 years, $1 million has passed through your hands. The question is, what have you done with it? Right? That's gross. So if you grossed $1 million, you net $750,000, you net $650,000. Where is it? Right? Is it in your closet? Is it in handbags and shoes and clothing, right? And now you can't recoup that. Even with cars, right? Sure, you got the Lexus, you got the Mercedes, you got the BMW. I had the Porsche. Right? But those things depreciate in value. They don't appreciate in value. And one of the things you learn as you generate more money and you acquire more wealth, you realize, for the most part, no one really cares. No one really cares. Okay? No one really cares the car that you drive. Right? The marketing, the Lexus marketing, the Mercedes-Benz marketing, they want you to care enough to go out and pay $50,000, $60,000 for a car. They want you to care because they want you to believe you're getting a value when you drive around that $50,000 car. They want you to think, right? But every day you drive that car depreciates, and a new car comes out every year. Right? So you're spending, do the calculation. My Porsche, I was paying $525 a month on the Porsche. So what's that? $6,000 a year. All right. You get, some of these people, you get a truck and you can pay $1,000 a month. You're paying $12,000 a year. You do that 5 years, you paid $60,000 for that truck. And at the end of 5 years, what do you want to do? You want to get yourself a new truck. That's where our money goes. And one of the things you have to understand is you have to learn how to manage your money, how to hold on to your wealth. And there are things you can do. Yeah, there are things you can do. And hear me when I tell you, the more money you make, the more money you have to spend, because if you don't spend the money, Uncle Sam is going to take it. Okay. The challenge is getting to that point. And many of us are not at that point. Many of us we're not purchasing items in order to minimize our tax our tax liabilities. We're purchasing items either to flex, or purchasing items because this is what we want. We work hard and we should get the very best, right? But that's all well and fine. But ultimately, let me see your bank account. How much money have you put away? Okay, and that's why we have to begin to think. Okay, how much money have you put away? How much money, how much wealth have you accumulated? Okay. So we're continuing on. I'm gonna discuss this specifically. And another thing they talk about is when you're looking at retirement, you can set up a target date fund. So again, many of you may not even have the time. We know if there are pastors on here, if you're ministers on here, if they're individuals, you have multiple jobs, your wife, your mother, your grandmother, you work, you might be in ministry, right? And the last thing you have is a lot of time to focus on investment. So what they talk about is setting up a target date fund. When you set up an IRA, you set up a target date fund, and basically you set the date that you want to retire, and the fund will manage your money for you and put you in more secure or conservative funds as you mature, as you age, right? It will put you in more conservative funds so that your money is not at risk. But either way, because I've had this, I've hired stockbrokers, I've hired people to help me manage my money, and they're able to lose money just as I was. Yeah, I had a stockbroker before, and he lost money because, again, he generated revenue by trading because he got commissions on the trade. And some trades he got out of that he should have stayed in, because he got out of it to get me into another trade. But after he got out of the trade, if he would have stayed in, I would have made more money. You see? So I say this, and hear me. You have to learn how to manage your money, because even wealthy people, you've seen it with Steve Harvey, you've seen it with DJ Khaled, where they hired people to help them manage their money, to pay their taxes. They signed the checks, and the people never paid the taxes. The IRS came after them, right? Because ultimately, it's going to be your responsibility in order to be able to manage your money, okay? So let's talk about 401ks and basically what we're talking about tonight, positioning yourself, positioning your mind to what you have to begin to do. And again, some of us are in a position, you have grandchildren, and you may have set up investment accounts for your grandchildren, right? You may set up accounts, where you're consistently giving to your grandchildren. That's great. That's all well and fine. But don't do that and neglect oneself. The Bible specifically says in the model prayer, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. There's a reason why God says, give us this day our daily bread, because in biblical times, if your neighbor came over to your house, say, there's a parable where the neighbor comes over to borrow bread, right? You cannot give bread you do not have. You cannot share resources you do not have. You cannot bless anyone with something you first do not have. The first thing you have to do in order to be able to bless someone is you first have to have the resources and be able to bless someone. Right? And one of the things, I'm a giver. So if you're a giver out there, hear me, listen to me carefully, please. You have to learn a vocabulary. You have to learn the word no. Right? So the reason we have budgets and the reason we designate dollars, right? Every dollar that comes in should have a designation. The reason we do that is when that person who does not manage their resources, let's say it's your brother, let's say it's your sister, let's say it's your cousin, right? The people in your life who view you as a bank, they know you're fiscally wise, they know you handle money, they know you can manage money, they know you always have money. So whenever they need, right, instead of them being fiscally wise and managing their money for themselves, and I'm not talking about their people, like I said, my mother is fiscally wise with money, right? But she's in retirement. So the dishwasher goes out, right? If my mother calls me, dishwasher goes out, she has to buy a new dishwasher. I went at Home Depot, ordered the dishwasher and had it delivered and paid for her, right? That's my mother. That's the person who helped me. She is fiscally wise, but she's on a fixed budget. She's in retirement, right? She has a fixed budget. So she cannot handle, right? And she can, don't get me wrong, she can handle something. If she can, well, she'll buy it and she'll pay it off. But I'm in a position, it's my mother, I pay it off. She doesn't ask I do it for her, right? I do it for her. We're not talking about those type of people. We're not talking about the people that, you're willing to help. No, we're talking about the people who don't do right for themselves and then think you're their bank. You're supposed to bail them out. And they know you have the money, but the answer is, I don't have the money right now. Why? Because your money has already been allocated. Your money has been set, whether it's going to pay the mortgage, whether it's buying food, if it's set to go to your savings, if it's set to go to your retirement, that means that money has already been allocated, and you cannot and should not reallocate it to bail somebody else out. Because when you need to be bailed out, you will not be able to rely on them. Hear me, I'm a giver. I understand. And if any of you know me, I understand. But you have to learn to let people know you cannot continue bail them out, because when you're in need, nobody is going to come to your aid. You have to begin to prioritize self. And we're seeing inflation, how it's increased, right? If you're thinking that you're going to get to 65, 70, and you're going to live off of Social Security, if you're old like me or my age, you get those Social Security statements, and they tell you, when I retire, I'm going to get $2,500 a month, and my wife is going to get about $2,000 a month. So between the two of us, we're going to have $4,500 a month. Okay, now think about that. That is not a lot of money. That is not a lot of money. Fortunately, there's two of us, right? But still, what I want you to do is you've created a lifestyle for yourself. You want to be able to continue that lifestyle while you're going into retirement. Hear me, I've seen it done. It can be done, right? There's certain things you got to put in practice today, okay? And 401k. So basically, a 401k plan is a savings plan, a retirement savings plan that basically is available for you from a business standpoint. So you work at a company, your company offers you a retirement plan, okay? It's usually one of your benefits at your retirement. You want to take advantage of that plan. You want to communicate to your children. You want to communicate to your grandchildren. Ask them a simple question. Does your company have a 401k plan? Yes. Have you signed up for it? Many times they say no, right? If they say no, tell them sign up for it immediately, right? One of the things they have to learn, you have to learn what we do as people, okay? We learn to live on a budget. We learn to live on the money in our paycheck. If they take out $50, if they take out $100, you will learn how to live on $50 or $100 less. You will learn how to do that. Okay? What you have to begin to do, you have to think what a 401k plan is. How do you build wealth? Consistent saving over a long period of time. If we can get our young people at the age of 21, when they first start their jobs, right? If we can get them to begin to set aside consistently for retirement, right? An amount, and over 21, over 30 or 20. Now you start at 20, you do that for 40 years. They'll be able, with just a simple 8% return on investment, right? Do the math. It's the thing called compound interest. They will have close to $1 million, if not over $1 million, simply if they save consistently without touching it, right? And there's a significant amount. They've done the calculations by starting at 21 versus 31 versus 41. It's time. It's time. It's time. Okay. So what we need to understand is consistent saving or consistent investing over a period of time. So if your company has a 401k plan and you have not signed up for it, please, I urge you, go in there tomorrow, find out what you need to do to sign up for it. Talk to your children, email them, text them. Does your company have a 401k plan, right? Have you signed up for it? You want them to sign up for it, and you want to max out to the amount of money that your company matches. So many of your benefits are, say, you can save. So you can save up to 60% of your income, and the company will match up to 3%. Meaning, so what do? You save 3%. Why? Because if you save 3%, the company is giving you another 3%. We call that free money. The company is giving you money. Okay. Some of you may have money in other, and you may have had a retirement account in one company and you left that company and went to another company, and it might still be sitting there. Don't spend it. You can either transfer it to a Charles Schwab, a Fidelity. You open up an account and transfer it into your personal IRA account, or if it was outsourced, you just manage it. I think my wife, she had it with Fidelity, so now she manages it with Fidelity outside of, she's no longer with the company. Okay. So you're saving for retirement. The key is putting as much as the company matches, right? Putting as much as the company matches. It's called free money. Right? Many companies offer a match. So whatever you put away, the company will match it. And many of them, they come with programs to allow you to help you manage the fund. So that they'll tell you here, you can put it in this fund, this fund, and this fund, and then they explain to you this fund is very conservative. It'll give you about 7% return on your money. This one is maybe indexed with computers. It'll give you is a little more aggressive, a little more risky, give you 15%, but you can also lose a little more. And then you balance it out based upon your age. The closer you are to retirement, the less risk you want to take with your money, right? The closer you are to retirement, the more conservative you want to be. Okay. 401k contribution limits. So 401k has been established by the federal government. The maximum an employee can save is up to $23,000. And after age 50, they allow you to add another $7,500 to catch up. Now, this may be a lot of money for some of you, okay? But then again, for others, it's not. If you're making six figures, if you're making over $100,000 a year, over $150,000, $200,000 a year, then saving $23,000 is, if you're making $230,000, saving is 10% of your income. So you do have people who are at these levels, right? And I'm not sure, some of you may be at this level, some of you may be knowledgeable of individuals who are at this level. It's sad, but you have people who are making over $100,000 a year, so they're making $100,000 a year, but they're $110,000 in debt. Whether it's student loan, whether it's automobile, we're not going to count the house, because a house is an asset that appreciates, right? So we've seen back in 2008 with the housing crisis, everything turned upside down. But that's an anomaly. Most of the time, we all know, right, our houses appreciate. So right now, my house, in the neighborhood that we're in, my house is valued around $600,000. They're building houses literally 20 feet from each other, less than a mile away. So they're compact houses, and they're starting in like $350, right? Even going up to $4. So once those houses start selling, right, we sit on an acre, I think 3/4 of an acre on a corner lot. All that's going to do is appreciate my house. My house is going to be worth more, simply because if you buy a house 20 feet apart, right, your standard 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, right, for $400,000, the houses that are larger, of course, it's going to be worth more because they're a mile away. It's just comps. Any of you real estate people in the audience, you're going to know that, right? So again, you can begin, and if you just do the math, even if a fraction, if you're able to save $10,000 a year for 40 years, right, without interest, that's going to be over $400,000 if I'm not mistaken, right? Just do the math. That's why it's consistent saving over a long period of time. Okay, if you consistently save, and that's without interest. That's without interest. So if that person has the ability to do that, they're going to end up with over $1 million in retirement. Okay, so these are the limits. Okay, contribution limit are all sources that if you have multiple streams of income, you can save up to $69,000, right? Under the age of 50 and over the age of 50, you can save up to $76,500. Why is that important? Because if you're making a significant amount of money, both those people who are making these types of money, again, this is a vehicle to utilize to minimize your tax responsibilities, your tax bite. So, and remember, the traditional IRA is pre-tax, and the Roth IRA is post-tax, right? And depending on where you are, right, Clark Howard will tell you who prefers the Roth IRA, because then when you begin to take the money out, because what you're doing is in retirement, we expect your tax bite may be higher because we understand this country is in a significant amount of debt. And because they're in a significant amount of debt, they tend to raise taxes, right? But the challenge is we have a progressive tax system. So if you are fiscally responsible and you save all this money, and now you in your retirement, you have over $1 million you will be in the top 10%. And unfortunately, you'll have a higher tax bracket. You'll be in a higher tax bracket. So they penalize you, unfortunately, they penalize you for managing your money wisely. And subsequently, when you're in your retirement, you may not have a lot of tax write-offs, right? So the kids are gone, unless you move the grandkids in. You move the grandkids in and you bargain with the kids to be able to write the grandkids off, but you're going to lose some of your tax write-offs, right? Your house may be paid off, so you may not be able to write off the house. So again, to minimize your tax bite in retirement, you might want to utilize a Roth IRA and do it take investment post taxes. But now, if you're also in a high tax bracket, you might want a traditional IRA to be able to write it off. So again, you have to manage your resources, manage your money, maybe split them through one of each, simply because whatever is best for you in the situation you find yourself in pertaining to taxes. Okay? Let's continue on. So 401k, we talked about the match. Your company offers a match, and many times they tell you it might be we'll match 50% up to 3%, we'll match 100% up to 3% or 6%, whatever the match is. It's free money. They're paying you to save your money. You take it. Whatever you have to do to be able to live off of that less amount, because for every dollar you do not take, that's X amount of dollars or that you are just giving away. Okay. And again, a lot of times individuals are not aware, they're not familiar, because you're living paycheck to paycheck as it is. Okay. What we're striving, what we're teaching, what we're wanting individuals to do, we're wanting individuals to get the point of beyond living paycheck to paycheck. Right? Not everybody in these United States of America live paycheck to paycheck. I know that for a fact. Not many people in my church live paycheck to paycheck, right? Because why? They've implemented the financial strategies that I've given them over the course of time, over these years. And now individuals who are renting apartments or renting homes are now living in homes. Individuals who are living paycheck to paycheck are now, they have an emergency fund. They have saved up 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. They're not going out and trying to buy a brand new 2024, you name it, right? When they know they drive off the lot and it's going to depreciate 20% as soon as they drive it off the lot, right? They're not going after the bling. They're not trying to impress people. No, what we're trying to do is we're trying to manage our wealth. One of the things I realized as a believer, okay, as a consistent tithe payer, consistently as a tithe payer, we're coming off 10% off the top. We're tithe and offering, right? So you can be at 12, 15%. So immediately, for a lot of people, if one of the reasons why they don't understand biblical principle, understand biblical giving, is because the sinner starts out at 100%. They're trying to live off 100%, right? I can speak to myself. I start out at 85%, right? Tithe and offering is 15% off the top. That goes to God. And I do better than a sinner living off of 100%. My goal, here's my goal. My goal is to live off of 10%. God can bless me enough where I'm able to give away 90%. See, because the Bible says all the cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to God, right? There's a wealth that's available to us. That's a wealth that I grew up in New York. My first real job. I worked as a messenger. Then I worked in 2 McDonald's. Then I went to work on Wall Street, right? Then I got to see what real wealth was. When I'm a data entry clerk and I'm working with traders who are able to buy a house with their bonus, not their salary, with their quarterly bonus. Able to buy a Porsche cash with their quarterly bonus. Let that sink in. So I know, and God has been blessed me. So I know what God can do. I know what we can do as the people of God when we put God first, right? So wealth is available to us because one of the things I've learned, right? God cannot bless you and trust you with finances if you can't manage finances, and God will not bless you and trust you with finances if you can't manage it, because you will make a record yourself and him. One of the things God has utilized me, not every dollar that comes in, not every dollar God blesses you with is for you. I've told the story before, but God utilized someone called me up. We had a big 285. We had a big traffic jam. And in order for me to get home, I had to go 85 north instead of going to 285 because everything was backed up. So I had to go to 85 north to Gwinnett Place. On the way to 85 north to Gwinnett Place, somebody called me and said, I have a blessing for you. I have something for you. Can you meet me at Gwinnett Place? I never go home that way. I go around 285. I'm going north. The person who wanted me to meet them where I was going. God established the whole thing. They gave me an offering, right? And I'm like, okay, God, this is not for me. Who is this for? Right? Because I didn't need it. I know I didn't need it. It's like, who is it for? He told me who it was for, and I gave it to him. God utilized that lady to be a blessing to somebody else, but I was the conduit to get it to the other person. Right? Not every dollar that comes into your hand, when you operate in fiscal principle, when you operate with God, not every dollar that comes into your hand belongs to you. God will utilize you to be able to bless someone else. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you're squandering everything that comes into your hand, if you're not utilizing the financial principles I've given you, if you're not, if you don't have an emergency fund, if you don't have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, if you're not paying off your debt with the debt snowball, if you're not managing your resources, if you're not managing your finances, right? Why would God bless you? You can't even begin to fathom living off of 10%. right? Because you don't know God in that fashion, because you haven't, a lot of times we have individuals who have challenges with their finances because they have not come to the place where they trust God with their finances. I have to trust God with my finances because I'm an entrepreneur. I need God to open a door for me. In order for me to get work, I have to pray to God. God, open the door. You see, and God opens the door. And when God opens the door, then the resources come in. So I can't be playing around trying to shortchange God $5 here, $10 here. No, I'm long past that. I trust God with my finances because he's been faithful to me. Okay. And what I want us to understand, okay, and in what we're learning here, when we talk about the road to financial freedom, right? There is a destination, and there's a destination whereby you want to get to a place. You want to get to a place where I only check my bank account to make sure the deposit has been made, right? But whether it's made or not, the money is there to be able to handle anything I need to handle. It's just I need to manage. You move money around, right? Am I sending money to savings? Am I spending money to retirement? You move money around, right? I've known people where they got paid, and this is back in the day before direct deposit. They had checks. This lady used to have checks in her bag. She used to forget her cash her check. She used to forget to cash her check because she wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. God had blessed her to the point where, the money was not needed. That's where I'm trying to get you to understand that there is a level, there is a place in God when you're able to manage your resources, when you're able to manage your finances. When you are looking and when you're checking for management purposes, right? You're checking just to see the money showed up and it's doing what it's supposed to do. So consistent giving over a long period of time. We're talking about 401k. We're talking about IRAs. If you're an entrepreneur, it's an IRA. Okay. If you're working for a company, it's a 401k. Okay. After you've gotten to the place where, again, steps. Because if you have credit card debt, you're going to be losing, right? It's better for you for your retirement to get out of under 19.99, 29.99. It's better to get out of that. You'll gain more, right? When you no longer have to pay that, you can pay yourself, right? So you have established you're paying off your debts, right? You're paying the car note. If you had a previous car note when you're 3 to 5%, then you can invest, because if you can get 10%, it's better to get 10%, 5% over the 5% that you're paying off your car. These are the things you have to be able to understand. These are the things when we're talking about money management. But it's important that you understand that you're going to be responsible for your own retirement, right? The best is to start as young as possible. Right? I'm speaking to you. I don't think there are a lot of young people on here, but young people in terms of just starting out, like my kids, right? It's important that you get them at an early age and begin to communicate to your kids and your grandkids. 401k, take the match. Okay. Other things that I'm going to finish up, but there are a couple of things you need to understand. Okay. Let me talk about Roth, the difference between the Roth IRA and the traditional IRA. You may hear these terms thrown around. The key is the Roth is after taxes. So after taxes come out of your paycheck, then you put money into the Roth IRA. But when you withdraw in retirement, taxes will not be taken out. Okay. Traditional is the money goes in pre-tax. Okay, so you're not going to be taxed on that money. You'll be taxed when you go to take it out, when you retire. That's the difference. Okay, so depending on how much you make, you want to minimize your tax bite now, you take the traditional. If you have other vehicles in order to bring down your gross to pay less taxes, then you can do the Roth, and then when you retire, you won't have to pay taxes then. When you're choosing investments, right? Many times the management company, they will have funds, mutual funds. Mutual funds is just a collection of stocks in the industry. So you may have retail, you may have tech companies, right? So instead of investing in one specific stock, instead of investing in Apple, you may invest in a tech mutual fund, where it's Apple, where it's Dell, where it's Intel or other technology companies. Okay, we talked about using the target dated fund right here, which you just pick a year closer to your retirement and put all your 401ks in that, and then the target date would automatically adjust your portfolio allocations to less risky stocks or mutual funds the closer you get to retirement. Okay, so you don't have to be someone, I'm not telling you to be a day trader. I'm not telling you have to, check the stock market every day. Matter of fact, it's probably better if you don't check the stock market every day. Your blood pressure will just go up when the stock goes down, right? Normally, most of these companies will either give you a quarterly, semi-annually, or annual report of how your funds are doing. So you might want to adjust and make adjustments at that point in time. But what you want is a level of consistency over time, over a period of time. Okay. And you know for yourself. I mean, if my mother's 85, right? So if I'm 50, I'm thinking both my mother and father are living, right? So both of them are in their 80s. So I expect to, I expect if I have the same DNA, I'll live into my 80s as well. So I'm in my 60s now. So I still have another 20 years, right? So right now I'm looking to do as much as I can for retirement, right? Because, eventually I work from home, and I don't have such a hard job. So I can probably work till I'm 70, but after a while, it's like, yeah, I don't want to be bothered with that. Sometimes you don't even want to get out of bed. Okay, so we talked about the difference. Yeah, okay. So one of the things we understand, and some of you who are familiar with retirement accounts, there are rules. There are rules for distribution. Okay, so where's it here? If you take your money out before 59 and a half years old, the IRS will charge you a penalty, a 10% early withdrawal penalty. You do know that the 401ks they relaxed the law. So you can take a loan from a 401k, which is an excellent idea. So they allow you to take a loan, I believe, for emergencies or to buy a house. So you'll just have to investigate that for yourself. But that's a good idea because you're borrowing from yourself instead of borrowing from a bank, and then you're paying yourself back. And if there's any interest, you're paying yourself back with interest, right? So by saving consistently over a significant period of time, you can be your own bank, right? So instead of paying somebody else interest, you can pay yourself. So there is a benefit to this. There is a benefit to this. And what I wanted to deposit it. And if you guys have any questions, we're getting ready to finish up. So if you have any questions, put it I'm on Facebook. Put it on the Facebook chat real quick, and I will answer them before we sign off. But what I really wanted you to understand, really wanted to drill home to you on today, okay, is number one, investing. But you're investing with a purpose. You're investing for retirement, okay? You're investing for retirement. Whether you're 25, 35, 45, or 55, by the grace of God, you will have the opportunity to retire one day, okay? And you don't want to wait until retirement hits to try to figure out, oh, what am I going to do? You've established a lifestyle, okay? So you want to position yourself to be able to live that lifestyle in retirement. Okay. My mother taught us when it comes to kids, they do the exact opposite today. But she said she started early to avoid the rush. Well, understanding that you have your kids when you're younger. I didn't want to have kids. I didn't want to have to be dealing with kids in my 60s. I timed it. We planned it out. So by the time I turned 60, the kids are out of college. Now my wife and I are able to travel. We're able to do things. We still have our health. We still have our strength, and we have the resources to be able to go to Paris, to go to Italy, to go to Spain, to go anywhere on the planet, to be able to do the things we want to do. We have the health and we have the finances to be able to do that. You see, and that's what you want to do. You want to position yourself that in your latter years, when your kids are older, right? When your kids are in your teenage years or early 20s, you are now able to do the things you sacrificed when they were younger. When they were younger, we were going to beaches. When they're younger, we're going to Disneyland. When they're younger, we're spending Saturdays and Sundays in gymnasiums, whether it's gymnastics, whether it's basketball, we're on a baseball field, we're on a football field, right? Now that they're grown, we're about to go on a cruise. My brother is going to be celebrating his 60th birthday, and my mom and we're going on a cruise to celebrate his birthday. And the kids, we're leaving the kids behind. They would come if we paid their way, but I'm not paying their way. We take vacations with the kids sometimes. Last year we went to Colorado to watch Deion Sanders, and we took them. But we paid, right? They love to travel with us because Daddy foots the bill. Anybody will travel with you if you're paying for them. But we're in a position now where we're able to do the things we desire to do. We still have the health and we still have the strength to be able to do it. And what I wanted to really focus in, because we're talking about the road to financial freedom, okay? And many of you think you'll never be able to get to that place. And hear me, this is how it's done for the average person. This is how you have the school teacher. This is how you have the police officer. This is how you have the fireman. This is how you have the civil servant, right? Who were making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, but they're retiring with 6-7 figures. How do they do that? Consistent savings over a period of time with compound interest. That's the formula. Consistent savings over a significant period of time with compound interest. So wherever you are today, that's what you want to begin to do. You want to begin to start. You got to start somewhere. And if it's just $1 consistently, right? I'll say this and I quit. So you figure out, okay, how could I do that? How could I do that? Well, I was with Verizon for 29 years. I was with Verizon before they were Verizon. We were with PC. We were with PC Cellular, an Atlanta company, and Verizon bought them. And I have Xfinity in my home. And back, before the pandemic, I used to, every time the plan ended, I would call them up to see what they can do to reduce the plan. Couldn't do it after the pandemic, while we were in the pandemic, because, everybody needed, was remote, and everybody needed Wi-Fi and so cable. So, but now I went back to calling them up and say, hey, because when I heard them, they were offering plans for new members. So I called them up and say, hey, what do you got for old members? Because if they offering stuff to new members, they will offer stuff to old members to keep them. So I got an updated modem, okay, updated speed at $25 less a month. Fine. I was happy. Then she said, oh, by the way, who is your cell phone carrier? I said, Verizon, right? And I've heard programs before, but I never wanted to switch. She said, oh, we're offering $25 a line for 4 lines. And if you bring your phone, we'll give you a credit of $10 each phone. I'm like, okay, bet. Let me go talk to Verizon. I went to the Verizon store. I said, hey, Xfinity is offering me $25 a line. I'm paying $35 a line. Could you guys match it? The guy arrogantly said, well, we don't match. I said, cool. Got up out of the chair, walked out of the store, called back Xfinity the next day, and I switched. I switched from paying $35 a line to $15 a line. So if you can't figure out how could I save money? How could I get money to save for retirement? Everybody you do business with, right? Whether I do it with my insurance company, see if I can get a better deal periodically with different insurance companies. Do it with your cell phone. Do it with your cable company, okay? Don't just pay whatever they're asking, because other companies will entice you to switch. And oh, by the way, with Xfinity, they said, oh, by the way, if you are a veteran, I'm like, she said, are you a veteran? I said, yeah, I served. She said, yeah, if you go onto our website and you fill out a form, we'll send you a gift card for $150. I'm like, bet. So I'm getting a $150 gift card for being a veteran. I may be off, but I'm getting a gift card for being a veteran. I went from paying $35 a line to $25 a line with a $10 discount for each phone that we brought, because we all had our phones. So each phone that we brought to Xfinity, and a cheaper cable bill. So all in all, I'm saving about 50, somewhere near $50 a month. If you did that, you could take that $50 a month and put it towards retirement. I just gave you $50 a month. That's how it's done, people. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. Okay? I don't see any questions in the chat. But understand something. If you don't manage your money, if you don't prioritize saving your money, right? If you don't understand that it's up to you to do things to retain your money. This is exactly what wealthy people do. Wealthy people don't just spend their money because they can. Okay? The sheer fact that you can is why you do everything you can to hold on to as much money as you can. Because in the United States of America, it's not how much money you make. It's how much money you get to keep. Okay? And a wise steward, God will always bless a wise steward. We see that with the parable of the pounds. I'll say this and I quit, right? The one, whether it's 5, 10, and 1, whether it's 5, 3, and 1, or 10, 5, and 1. The stewards who are able to take the 5 and duplicate it, the 10 and duplicate it, the 3 and duplicate it, those are the ones who God blessed. Because why? He's well done, my good and faithful servant. If you're able to multiply the money, then I can trust you with the money. If you're just going to bury the money in the sand and do nothing with it, or worse yet, consume it and be in debt, right? You're not a good representative of God, right? Because God is a multiplier, right? 3 fishes, 5 loaves. He's a multiplier. You want to be like God? Learn how to multiply. Learn how to multiply your money. Well, I pray something that has been said tonight has been a blessing to you. My aim, my goal, and my purpose on tonight was to get you to focus in on you, get you to think about your retirement. What are you doing for your retirement? Are you doing anything for your retirement? Okay. Begin to think about that, right? Retirement. You can end retirement with a significant amount of money. I hear you, Sierra. I get my car washed free once a month for the rest of the year. Okay. Yeah. I hear you, Sierra. That's what? That's if you get a car wash, $10, $15 you save. That's $100. If it's $10, that's $150 you save. 100, right? 120, $15, 130. My math is off. I've been talking. My brain isn't functioning. But she's saving money. That's what we got to do. Now, are you taking that money that you would spend in the car wash and you Are you saving it somewhere? Right? That's how we do it, folks. That's how we do it. $1 at a time. Okay. Just a word of announcement. So I talked to you about the cruise. Pastor Nedra and I are going on a cruise, and that's going to be in October, and it's going to be during this time, the 4th Tuesday in October. So when Pastor Nedra put out the dates, she allocated for that. So the next Road to Financial Freedom, I'm not sure exactly the date, but it will either be the 3rd or the 5th Tuesday. I'm not sure exactly which one, but it won't be the 4th. Okay. So you guys be looking out for us on next month. We'll either be 1 week early or 1 week late. I'm not sure right off the top of my head, but we won't be on the 4th because we will be sailing in the Caribbean. Amen. You guys have a blessed night. Pastor Curt, Road to Financial Freedom. I will see you there in Jesus' name.